Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Let's get started. And our first one comes from Mango Flat 5137. Am I the beehole for telling my daughter that everybody comes to her birthday party or no one comes at all? My daughter is 11, going on 12, and her birthday is coming up in a few weeks. For her birthday, she wants to go swimming, so we rented the local community center. That has a pool, a giant activity room, where we'll have all sorts of treats and stuff. We asked her to make us a list of invitees, so we can get everything coordinated. She asked if she could just invite her whole class of 20 or so kids. It's a big activity center with lots of room, so we said it was fine. So, she goes to the kitchen and is about 10 minutes later comes back with her classmates' directory. Her school puts together a small binder that lists the names of the students by each class, the names of the parents, and a phone number and a/or email address. She hands it to me and I quickly notice that 3 names have been crossed out and I asked why. And she said those ones are ones she doesn't want to invite. I started asking her questions, like if they had an argument, or if they were mean, bullies, etc. And she maintained that no, she just thought they were strange and didn't really like them. I told her that she can't just invite the whole class with 3 exclusions. She just kind of looked at me and said it's her birthday. I explained that this could be hurtful to them, and that if she was staunchly against them attending, then it would be better to have a smaller party and just invite a handful of her closest friends. She said that she doesn't want a small party. She wanted a big party. And I told her then everyone in the class is getting an invitation. She said no, they aren't, and I told her okay, then no one is. And she ran out of the room crying. She has started crying and running away whenever she sees me, since, and I'm starting to feel guilty. My wife was frustrated with me and says she gets where I'm coming from, but it is her daughter's birthday and she should only have the people she wants there. I try to explain that I don't want her daughter to be the reason these 3 kids have a crappy time in school. I can't in good consciousness let her exclude kids like this. Am I the beehole here? Wife says all we need to worry about is daughter having a fun birthday, and I'm already picking a fight over something. No one will remember years down the road, but I don't agree at all. If they were bullies, that would be one thing, but they aren't, so to me, it's cruelty, and cruelty sticks with people. Update. Thanks for reading. Glad the final verdict is that I'm not the beehole here. We talked again this morning, and asked her more specifically about her feelings towards the 3. And it's really nothing serious like people were suggesting, but I thought it was important to make sure just in case. I asked her to put herself in their shoes. What if one of her classmates was having a party and invited everyone except her? How would she feel? This is the approach I admit I should have taken in the first place. And it worked. She gets it. I explained that's why she can't invite the whole class except for 3 people because at that point it's a class affair. I reiterated that she could still have a small party, just with her close friends, but she said she still wanted to have a big party, and everyone is invited. Hi OP, judging from that update, it looks like everything's been rectified. But yeah, I agree with you on that. You gave her a good option too. She still didn't want to have those people, just have her close friends. Personally, I'm an introvert. That's what I would have opted for, or nobody, just give me gifts and go away. But yeah, I think you handled it well asking her about those kids because yeah, if they ended up being bullies or mistreating her in any way, I would understand not inviting them and I wouldn't invite them. It looks like you handled the situation just fine. You got through to her and showed her what she was doing wrong and how it's mean to people and you shouldn't treat people that way just because you think they're weird. But after all of that, looking at the end, looks like our story has a happy ending, and she ended up going with the big party and inviting everybody. So, it's nice to get one of these stories where everything just kind of ends nicely in a, wrapped up bow. Good job, OP. And our next one comes from Hurt Feels, Fair Deals. Am I the beehole for being unsympathetic towards my sister when I said we'd be skipping a holiday gathering? I, a 25-year-old female, am married to my husband, a 26-year-old male. We live about 45 minutes away from where my parents live. They live about 10 minutes away from my sister, Rachel, and her husband and their 4 kids. Their oldest is 12 and their youngest is 2. All of the kids are very well behaved and we love getting to see them when we can. My husband and I try to make it a point to spend individual time with one of them a month, and we see them all during the birthdays and some holidays, etc., etc. Mother and sister do not work. All of the kids are either in school or in daycare. including in the summers, and my parents watch all of the kids 2 days a week of my sister's choice. This is relevant because they're making plans and invite my husband and I, but they forget that we both work. But my husband is currently working from home because he shattered his arm, and is currently in a full cast and sling, waiting for another surgery, which will be on December 27th. They'll be like, "We're taking the little ones to see Paw Patrols Thursday at 1. Can you both come? They'd love to see you." Then when I say we'll be working, they'll just ask if we can request it off. Anyway, my parents just finalized plans to have 2 larger holiday get-togethers, one with each side of their extended families, plus a smaller holiday get-together with just them. My sister and her husband, me, my husband, and the kids. The 2 larger gatherings are scheduled for the 20th and the 21st. The smaller gathering for the evening of the 22nd, and we're traveling to see my husband's family on the 23rd and 26th. For the first 2, they rented a gathering space that's an hour away from us. Additionally, relatives on both sides offered to host, but my parents insisted on the gathering space because it's more convenient for my sister, because she has 4 kids to shuttle around. Everyone in the family is chipping in to cover the cost of the rental space. I asked if they could come to our house for a private gathering, as it would be easy for us because we both work that day and my husband has a doctor's appointment in the afternoon. Initially, they said yes, but they said it would be at their house because again, it's easier for my sister and the kids. I expressed my frustration, and she is not the only one who is busy, and it's unfair that everything is always made convenient for her, even at the inconvenience of others. My husband and I agreed. We will bring our gifts for them and the kids to the larger gatherings and skip the smaller one. They asked if we could request it off on the 22nd. We said no. They are now saying we're both being unsympathetic because my husband is agreeing with me and it was his idea to skip, and that we don't know how hard it is because we don't have kids. My sister is especially saying that I'm being a beehole and feels like I'm trying to say I'm more important because I work, which I'm not. I'm just asking for some consideration. Am I the beehole? Hi, OP. I'm gonna say you're not the beehole, and I agree. Just because your sister has kids doesn't mean everyone in the world has to stop and bow to her like that and do everything for her. And I'm so sick of people going, "Oh, you don't know because you don't have kids. They're so hard." I don't care. My parents had us, and my dad worked, and my mom had that crap on lock. So no, people nowadays have just become weak. And yeah, they should throw you a bone. Aren't they doing the small little thing for you guys to come and see them? If your sister can come, cool, but she doesn't have to show up for every bloody thing. And also that, oh, just request the days off. No, people gotta eat, man. People gotta keep a roof over their head. I'm sure missing a day of work is not fun, and bills are high nowadays. Everything's high nowadays. And our next one comes from Tekaz IG. I think that's how you say it. Am I the beehole if I ate and swallowed a message from God on a tram? I'm a 36-year-old female traveling for work this weekend and had a few hours layover in the ATL airport. I'm tired. I've been traveling since very early this morning and have been on and off engrossed in a book during the times of interaction that keep my anxiety from peaking. I just got off the plane and had made my way to the tram to get to the next on-course. I noticed a lady who had been sat next to me on the prior flight was also following me to the tram for the transfer. It's not uncommon. Many people are heading to the same relative locations, or at least on the same train. As I boarded the tram/train to get to my connecting area, I headed to a corner and reopened my book. It's simple, non-heavy, brainy book, and part of a well-known series, and does have some explicit/smutty sections. Whatever, it's an easy read, doesn't involve a lot of cognition to follow, and is entertaining. The lady who was next to me on my flight ended up next to me on the sparsely occupied train and did a loud ahem. I'm not one to openly engage in other people's lives and ignored it. She turned her head and looked right at me and said, "Are you really ignoring the light?" I genuinely had no clue what she was referring to. It was really early, took the red eye, and I genuinely thought she meant the rising sun. I glanced out and said something like, "It's kinda cloudy, so I didn't notice." I didn't fully recall. She stared really intently and grabbed a piece of paper out of her handbag to hand me. This was a small, little more than a fortune cookie sized paper. It had a Bible passage on it. Something about God and the light without darkness. I do remember the passage was from the book of John. She said something about she just felt called to me, to guide me out of the sinful darkness, when she saw what I was reading on the flight. And instead of exiting the airport to go home, she knew she was meant to follow me to my next area, to show me the light. I grew up in the South, on the Bible Belt of NC, and I felt all the hypocrisy that organized religion was promoting and had some trauma from it. I'm not proud to say this triggered a little, and reacted on the trigger. I grabbed that stupid slip of paper and wadded it up and shoved it in my mouth. I started chewing. I looked at this lady in the eye and chewed and swallowed, and then said her BS was delicious. She immediately called me a heathen and said I wasn't capable of grace, and she wished she hadn't wasted her sacred message on the unworthy. She said she knew what kind of floozy I was by the filth I was reading. I just said I'm glad she enjoyed it, as well as provided the name of the author before exiting the train at the next on-course, even though it wasn't the one I needed. She didn't follow, but called me an unhinged jerk before scooting away. I thought about it and felt a little bad about my immaturity, and could have just accepted the paper and ignored her. I know this is a very religious city, so am I the unhinged jerk? Beehole? Thank you for taking the time to read and comment. I tried to respond to as many as I could, but there are so many now. I finally made it home to the PNW after a very long travel day, got some rest, and still feel unsettled by the situation. I had to update the post to correct the airport code. Twice, once to correct A and another to put a damn letter in the correct order. I'm sorry I confused so many. I can't find the one comment responding to the correct code to SLC for Salt Lake, and it didn't click with me, so sorry for the confusion there. It was an Atlanta airport, not Salt Lake. Many people assumed the lady was elderly from the post, like due to her vocabulary, but she was around my age. Sorry I failed to make that clear. I accept the you're the beehole judgments as well as not the beehole. In truth, despite how many of you fine folks supported my behavior, I recognize that I absolutely was not okay with my reaction and understand why others would not approve. I posted a few times in the comments, but the book in question was The Solstice of the Drowned Empire by Frankie Mallis? Mallis, if anybody's interested in the book. It's a part of the series, and it's a great read for anyone who likes fantasy series. As far as the smuttiness goes, it's not high on that scale, more of a slow burn, but there are a few graphic scenes. There have been no adverse effects from eating the stupid paper, just bewilderment. I again appreciate everyone who commented, regardless of judgment. I'm going to try and personally respond to as many as I can. Hi OP, I don't know where the you're the beehole stuff is coming from because you're not the beehole. I believe in not getting into people's business and let them be if they're not hurting anyone, and you're not hurting anyone. That nosy woman should have stayed out of your business. And she knew exactly what that book was. I don't know what that book is. I wouldn't even cared. I'm just saying, people like her, people who want to look down on people and try to act like they're superior and holier than thou, usually have the most skeletons in their closet. So it's sickening when people like this try to preach to you, because you know deep down they're doing some jacked up stuff. And I thought what you did was funny and a lot nicer than what I would have done. I probably would have cussed her out and scared her away. But I kind of agree. I don't know. I didn't look at the comments, but I wouldn't have eaten anything she gave me. I don't know where that woman's hands have been, and I wouldn't trust it putting that in my mouth. But I would have just balled it up and tossed it aside. But yeah, you're not the beehole. I think that was funny, OP. You have nothing to feel bad for. If she had just shut her mouth and didn't interact with you, none of this would have happened. She brought it on herself. And our final one comes from Little War 1901. Am I the beehole for escalating a complaint that my daughter was being forced to help the struggling kids in class? Okay, so my daughter has always been ahead of her grade, academically, because my wife places a heavy importance on studies and helps her with her academics. My wife used to be a teacher before she became a SAHM. So, a couple months ago, she started to complain about her grade work being easy and having to just sit without having anything to do until the rest of her classmates finished their work. I brought up these concerns with her teacher and she said she would look into what she could do about it. Turns out, she decided to make my daughter help the kids who were falling behind after she finishes her work. She started to complain about it to me and she really hates helping them because they are weird and they don't understand even after I explain it to them. I have to help them through it step by step. Her words. I sent an email to the teacher, and she said she would take it into consideration. However, nothing changed, and I decided to take my concerns with her to the school's management, and told them if they couldn't prioritize my daughter's learning, then there were plenty of good private schools in the area that would. This got her teacher to back off and stop making her help the struggling students. However, my wife is mad at me for this because she knows how hard it is to be a teacher, and they don't need parents making complaints to their bosses since they're already having a rough time. I told her it was her choice to send her to public school. didn't want to send her to private school because that would apparently teach her that she's better than people who can't afford the tuition. I wanted her to go to a nice private school, since that's where I got my education and it was significantly better than the 1 year I spent in public school, and that if they couldn't do what's best for our kid, I wasn't going to let it happen. Hi OP, I'm gonna say you're not the beehole. Your daughter kind of slipped though, I'm not gonna lie. Not calling her a beehole or anything like that, because if I was in her shoes and I'd finished everything and I didn't have to do anything for the rest of the class, I would just sleep. But that was me. Um, yeah, I see where you're coming from. She shouldn't have to be punished by. She's not a teacher. Why is she being punished and having to waste her time to, help the other kids who, let's be honest, probably don't want to learn? I went through school. A lot of us didn't want to learn, me included. I get where your wife's coming from, but I'm not one of those people who think every teacher is a saint. Yeah, I know teachers have it hard and they don't get paid as much as they should, and I get that. I've watched one of my teachers have to deal with unruly students, like grown football players duking it out in the middle of class. I was on the side cheering it on, so, I was no saint either. But not every teacher is a good person or a good teacher. There was one back in elementary who really loved little girls. I can't say anything about it, but yeah, they're people too, and sometimes people suck. And it sounds like the teacher's not doing too great if she thinks it's okay for a student to teach her students what she should be teaching them. I don't know about private school. I went to public school my whole life. From what I understand, the kids there are jerks too, so I guess maybe the education's better, but socially it's probably going to be rough. I'm not sure. Don't know. But I don't think you're the beehole OP, and I think you should be watching out for your child. So, yeah, I agree with you on this. Before we wrap things up, I'm not sure if you guys heard all of that nonsense outside, but our neighbors decided it'd be time to, I don't know, do the whole lawn in a windstorm, apparently. I personally, I would wait until that's over before I start, blowing away leaves and chopping up grass, but whatever. If you heard that, I'm sorry. If you hear anything, if you hear wind, it's been blowing like crazy. Again, sorry, but I can't wait for all this to stop. I'm on a time limit with these videos. The day is short. So, sorry. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end of this video. Can you please do what I said in the beginning and like, comment, and subscribe? It will really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Velvet out.